Well, as we approach voting day in Saskatchewan, I have a question. What stands out for you so far in this campaign? I'm going to be connecting with a political watcher here in Saskatchewan in just a moment. But if you look at the polls, they certainly show another Saskatchewan party majority. But will the NDP make a surge in these final days of the campaign? Of course, we'll find out soon enough. I want to take a look at a few key numbers. And the first one is, let's look at the number of seats at dissolution. And here we go. The Saskatchewan Party held 46 seats, the NDP 13 in opposition, and there were 2 vacant. You may recall the 2 vacant seats. They were held by Saskatchewan Party MLAs, Warren Steinley and Regina Walsh-Akers, and Corey Tucker at Saskatoon Eastview. They moved on to federal politics and subsequently elected as Conservative MPs. Let's look at the popular vote projection. Again, these are a compilation of credible polls taken, and this is thanks to the good people at 338canada.com. And you see there, the Saskatchewan Party poised to take about 60% of the popular vote, the NDP at 34%, and the other parties, this would be a compilation of independents, Buffalo Party, Conservatives, Liberals, nearly 5%. So that's how that popular vote projection breaks down. What Canada 338 does is look at safe seats, and this is actually a pretty critical number here you're going to see. And it projects that the Saskatchewan Party has, of the 61 races, 37 of them are considered safe seats. In other words, safe wins for the Saskatchewan Party. For the NDP, it's 6. And that's a critical number because if that's true, it's an automatic majority for the Sask Party because you need 31 seats for a majority. So there are some numbers I'd want to bring into your attention. But now let's bring into the picture Lolene Berdahl. She's the executive director of the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy. This school, by the way, is a collaboration between the University of Saskatchewan and the University of Regina. And Lolene is also a professor of political studies at the University of Saskatchewan. Hi, Lolene. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. What stands out for you in this election campaign so far?
Well, it's been a relatively quiet election campaign. The promises have been sort of very traditionally focused in terms of the economy and healthcare and a lot of small issues. What I find really interesting about this campaign is the fact that COVID has played a relatively small role. We've seen some attention to it in just the last few days, but it's been kind of a non-issue, and that's quite striking, given that it's the big issue.
Why does that surprise you that it's become a non-issue, or it has been up until, I guess, the mask controversy on social media?
Yeah, well, you would think that. Sorry, I've got a kitten joining me here. You would
okay.
you would think that sort of the big event of our century would come into play in some way. That you might see some attention to safety in terms of the voting process. We've certainly seen a lot of attention to mail-in ballots. It hasn't been a real discussion point. I believe today Ryan Marley made a statement that voters should be required to wear masks, but that hasn't really been a point of topic up until now. We've seen a lot of impact of COVID on the economy, a lot of attention to healthcare, a lot of attention to education, and yet it hasn't really been a large topic.
The polls, and I haven't seen one after the debate, but certainly leading up to the debate, it was such a big separation between the Sask Party and the NDP. And if that needle hasn't moved too much during the campaign, what can you speculate what the Sask Party might be doing right in maintaining its voter base, if the polls are right?
Well, I think the Sask Party has become the status quo default party for the province of Saskatchewan. That used to be the NDP. I think that's really effectively switched to the Saskatchewan Party. So they're where people put their vote if they don't know where they put their vote. When we look at their campaign, it's a lot of smaller provinces, and so it's a comfortable position, I think, for a lot of people.
So you say it's a comfortable position for a lot of people. Sorry, I cut you off, Lolene. Keep going.
No, but go ahead.
Okay. I want to then flip it to the other side, the NDP. What Now, this could be proven wrong at the polls on Monday, but what is lacking in with that party that's failing to capture a wider voter base?
Well, I mean, the parties really struggled to connect with the real broad base in the same way that the Saskatchewan Party has. I think they've had years of successive or elections of successive new leaders, and that presents a bit of a challenge that it's always needing to kind of reinvent itself. And when you look at a lot of its electoral promises, they're really going after a different voting demographic than the Saskatchewan Party. So there's a number of factors, and I think that they've really had their work cut out for them. At the same time, I think Miley's had a relatively good campaign, and so they might be able to move the needle a little bit. Certainly not enough to result in a change in that election overall.
You're cutting in and out, Lolene. I hope the viewers at home can hear better than I do, but I do have another question. I just sticking with the NDP. What is at stake for that party if it ends up with the similar numbers as it has now after all is said and done with this vote? What's at stake for the future of that party?
Well, I think the party would have to really ask itself what it's doing and what it wants its future to be and what direction it wants to take. If they aren't able to really grow their base, then there always will become that question of leadership and whether or not they want to stay with their existing leader or shift. There's always that question of whether or not that opens up room for other parties. Perhaps there's another alternative party that might come up as a voice of opposition.
Well, you're in Saskatoon, and it seems like if there's any, interesting battles, it'll be in the urban areas. What do you see in the urban areas, the battles that are shaping up? Not specific ones, but why is it that there are strict battles there, but you don't see that unfolding in much of rural Saskatchewan?
Well, it's interesting. The NDP has, in many ways, been pushed into primarily the larger city areas. And so we're seeing some battlegrounds. We have some ridings that don't have incumbents. And so anytime there's not an incumbent, that creates a bit of an interesting contest just in and of itself. So, that's what we're seeing a lot more of the potential interest in these areas where there's a number of ridings that were quite close last time. And so those were, and also just the fact that there are some open seats.
Lolene, thank you very much for your insight. We're going to be connecting with your U of R colleague, Jim Farney, a little bit later in this half hour to get another perspective from Regina this time. But thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.